Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth, and Shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, starting with the 144,000, consisting of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, today I'm looking at the developments towards World War III. We know what's happening in the Middle East, what's been going on since October, is a fulfillment, if you like, or going towards the fulfillment of Jeremiah chapter, 49 and 20, also Jeremiah 50 and 45. It says, therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh, it's Jeremiah 49 and 20, that he hath taken against Edom and his purposes, that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And so we know, this is talking to the Edomite nation. Teman, or the Temanites, they are a particular tribe of the Edomite nation. When you look at the same prophecy spoken of in Jeremiah 50 and 45, the same events are spoken of. Surely the least of the flock drawing them out, drawing other nations out into the Third World War. But this time it speaks of Babylon and the Chaldees. And this is all speaking of America and the nation of Edom, and if you like, the headquarters, if you like, the main nation, the main part of the Edom of nation is based in America. And obviously there's other parts to it around the world, the small hats being one particular part, the least of the flock. So we know, like I say, according to prophecy, what's been happening in the Middle East is going towards the fulfillment of that, taking us into the Third World War. Least of the flock drawing other nations into the Third World War. And this is important to know and keep an eye on, because there's two major prophecies left to come to pass. You've got this one, and then you've got the fulfillment of the MOTB, Revelation chapter 13. And then you'll have the return of the Messiah, Yahweh Shai. You'll have the destruction of this particular kingdom and the setting up of the kingdom of heaven. And these things are very close, very soon to happen. And with these two prophecies, the MOTB and the Third World War, the MOTB is not something that's going to be very obvious. It's, we're expecting a financial collapse on the worldwide scale, and then the introduction of the worldwide digital currency, CBDC system. And then we expect a time when we're asked to take a device under our skin. And maybe that's based around, pestilence, fear, fear mongering, fear being put into the population to say, there's pestilences out there, so on and so forth. So we've got these false flag events which we're expecting, we've spoken of, we've warned you of regarding the MOTB. But the timing of those two things are going to be a surprise. These false flag events, planned crisis, if you like, regarding financial collapse of the financial system, worldwide financial system, introduction of the digital system, for example. You're not going to wake up and they're going to say, okay, tomorrow's going to be the day we're going to crash the system and we're going to bring about a new one. So these things are going to happen by surprise. So it's important to then keep an eye on the Third World War, World War III, because if we can get a range on time on that, then it helps us with the MOTB. We know if it's close or not. And when it comes to war, it's pretty difficult to miss. So it's going to be obvious. It's like the elephant in the room. Everybody can see it. Everybody knows what's about to happen. So Now we look at the Third World War, I do, and then I look at it and I go, well, if we're this close to the Third World War happening, then the MOTB has to be even closer. And so today is Monday, the 27th of May, 2024, the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble, and the UN had a vote regarding the situation that's been going on in the Middle East. I'm going to leave this particular video in the description box for you. This is Larry Johnson. This is put up probably 7, 8, 9 hours ago now. And we just look at the full title. The small hats can't exist. It says Israel, which is speaking of the small hats. And 13 West countries recognize Palestine. The US died down in Ukraine war. So they, what they do is they pretty much give you an update when it comes to the wars, between obviously Ukraine and Russia, and obviously what's going on in the Middle East. And they speak of the effects that are going to happen after today with this particular vote. Now they've had these previous votes before. They've had a vote, I believe, in January, and they had one in March, and they've had another one today. And each time they're voting to say, we think that the small hats should stop what they're doing. And on this particular vote today, there were calls from other nations to say, we keep voting, but at some point we actually have to put the plan into action. So these are the steps that we're waiting to see to develop and take us towards the Third World War. When the situation occurred in October with the small hats, I spoke of local conflicts, and then regional conflict, and then worldwide conflict. And you have to go through the process of these particular steps to get to a world war, and that's what we're going through. So it was never going to be a 2-week situation. It was always going to be a slow process. And so what we've seen, for example, you can look at what's happened in the Middle East. These are some numbers here, for example, you can see on the screen. Type of latest figures basically up until May the 24th. How many people, injuries, killed, so on and so forth. And so, we look for, you see this word written on the screen here, basically. And we look for code words to use this particular word, because we know once we use it, our videos are flagged up and highlighted. But watching that Larry Johnson, they pretty much stating that when you go out there in the Middle East, the way that they're talking about it, the ones that are going through with this particular action, to them, they're referring to it as cutting the grass. So that G word, instead of using the G word, they just refer it to say this is what we're doing. That's how their mentality is. These small hats that are going ahead with this particular plan, that are backing Benjamin Netanyahu, their viewpoint on it is that we're pretty much going out there to cut the grass. And so with this vote, it was obvious, obviously, this whole time that's been going on, the whole world can see what's going on in the Middle East with these small hats. Everybody knows what's going on, and it was just only a matter of time before obviously people started to speak up. And now we're having these votes in the UN, and it's very important because obviously this is separating the least of the flock, these small hats, from the other nations. And then it's also putting the question to America, whose side are you really on? Now again, when you watch Larry Johnson, they're explaining how really, what the small hats and America are doing are just purposely taking us towards the direction of a Third World War. The things that they're doing, they're stating one thing in the media, but behind the scenes it's a slightly different picture that's painted. So the actions that they're going through, it's almost as if they know, we're going to end up in the Third World War, so we'll go through these actions to go through it to get there. So you have this vote that took place, and 13 nations voted for a stop to be put to what the small hats are doing. Two nations voted for the small hats to be allowed to carry on. And one was the small hats and one was Uganda. And for some reason Uganda are backing the small hats. So now you have this separation being created, and this is on a worldwide political stage. Now what's important to note is that the UN are not part of the beast system. The beast system consists of EU and the NATO, which come with military powers. So America is the whore spoken of in Revelation chapter 17, and that whore rides the beast system, operates and manipulates the beast in order to achieve her goals. That is, so America is using EU and NATO to do what they want. The UN aren't part of that. So the UN aren't part of the beast system, but to go into a nation and to be given the all clear, if you like, for the war crimes that you're committing aren't actually war crimes, or whether they are, you pretty much have to pass it by. You have to okay it with the UN. If the UN don't agree with what the small hats are doing, then they will send in UN nations against the small hats as a world police. And then obviously with that comes NATO, comes EU and NATO nations, and that's when you get to the point of a world war. So we're heading for that, thick and fast. This is Obadiah. I'm just going to breeze through it to the point the particular point that I need. This is Edom will be humbled, Obadiah. In the book of Obadiah, verse 1, this is the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom. And don't forget, the small hats are the least of the flock of the Edomites. So they're part of that. And it says, we have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Because Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, has got the spirit on the prophets out here, warning you that Third World War is coming. And he's got a spirit out here on these kings, on these leaders, especially this Bibi Netanyahu, who's he's headstrong. He's in this situation. He's got a lot of people starting to go against him, and this is when you really start to see that spirit. If you think back into the time of ancient Egypt, Mizraim, you read of Moses going to the king of Egypt, Pharaoh, really, and saying to the king of Egypt that you've got to let my people go, let the people of Yahweh go. And so when you read through the account, obviously the Most High put a spirit on the king of Egypt to harden his heart or harden his mind against Yahweh, against Moses. And so that's what gave Yahweh the reason to bring the plagues against Egypt or Mizraim. So the Most High pretty much set them up by putting a hard spirit on the king to refuse the advances and the words of Moses, who ultimately came in the words of Yahweh, and that gave Yahweh the reason to bring the destruction. So if you think that same type of spirit has got to be out here now, and the Most High is going to put it on one of the leaders out here, when it comes to the Third World War, you're going to see that. And you think of ancient Mizraim, the destruction that took place, and the devastation, the death, all the things that were happening. And there's one hell of a spirit on that Pharaoh to stop, obviously to not hear what Moses is saying and say, nah, I don't care. And that same type of spirit has got to be out here on one of the leaders. And so you're going to see a worldwide leader ready to go to war against, prophecy, if you like, against Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, and with a hardened spirit. And that hardened spirit, it looks like it's on Benjamin Netanyahu. So it says here, you've got an ambassador sent among the heathen, you've got the prophets out here speaking amongst the heathen, you've got spirits on the kings, the leaders. and they're going to bring us to the Third World War. No matter how, you've got this situation, mutually assured destruction, MAD, and people say, we just want to get along, there's no coming back from nuclear war, so why take it that far? But there's going to be spirits on kings and leaders and presidents and prime ministers out here that's going to take us to that, to fulfill it, to make it actually happen. So, no peace talks are going to work, basically. We have heard a rumour from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. It says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. So the stature of these Edomites is rapidly falling, especially when you look at the situation that's happening in the Middle East. People are waking up to what's going on. They're realizing this G word, cutting the grass. Is that what you small hats are about? And then people are looking at America. So what about you? Are you going to stop them, or you got the power to stop them? Are you going to do it or not, or what? Where are we at with this? And this confusion and the cutting of the grass has been continuing since October. And so now obviously the opinion of these people is becoming very low, to the point where you've got UN nations voting against the small hats. And so now they're starting to become greatly despised, made small in stature, not small in number, but small in, you've got a guy who does good things. He's always helping old women cross the road. Yeah, he's a great guy. But then you've got like the guy who's always out there, thieving and robbing people's stuff, and he's low in stature, and he's going to hide and scamper about. And so what it is, you've got trading places, role reversal for these Edomites and Israelites. Obviously, roles are being reversed. Israelites are being brought up, raised up by Yahweh, Bashim Hawashai, calling on the name, and Lord willing, we enter into the kingdom of heaven. But then at the same time, the Edomites are on a downward spiral. So whereas 10, 20, 30 years ago, people were looking at Edomites for answers. Give us the answers. You have the answers. You people have the technology, the information. Esau is wiser than Daniel. But now people are starting, their eyes are open. They're starting to realize, and now they're starting to become greatly despised. Their opinion of Edomites are becoming sour. It says, the pride of thy heart has deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? His Edomites come from Petra, from the clefts of the rocks, and even today, you go to their cities, they've pretty much turned them into these similar places, these places made up of rock, brick, stone. And you've got these high, tall skyscrapers. So that and when the habitation is high, because obviously they set themselves up high. It goes on to say, thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars, with their space station. And it says, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. And even when it comes to obviously the Renaissance art and iconoclasm, and creating the image of the Most High and His Son in their likeness, all that type of their loftiness within their mind, whose habitation is high, saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that's the opinion of these Edomites. You see that with that brashness of America, and the philosophy and the way that they go to war. And Jeremiah chapter 50 speaks of America being the hammer of the whole earth. And it also speaks of England, the mother, being sore confounded. But yeah, back to Obadiah 1 and 3. So the pride of thy heart has deceived thee. And so you've got Benjamin Netanyahu. I've explained it the other day. I looked it up here just quickly. So you've got this rabbi. We'll remove this Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, who was well known to Bibi. And I mentioned it the other day. Bibi's been prime minister now. This is on his third stint as prime minister of the Small Hats. And the story is that this particular rabbi in the 90s told, it's written here, about 30 years ago, the late Lubavitcher Rebbe told a young Netanyahu that he, Benjamin Netanyahu, will be Small Hat's prime minister, who will pass the scepter to the Messiah. The Lubavitcher Rebbe said this during the election campaign in the 1990s, before Netanyahu's first term in office. So, to the Small Hats, these Rebbes are like gods. They everything they say is like gold dust. And I believe that the Small Hats, when they die and they go into the spirit world, the Small Hats believe they become stronger. All their powers are all of a sudden available, but they're not available here. But they, these Small Hats, they look up to these. And then so obviously Netanyahu's been told that you're going to be, the one before the Messiah, that you're going to be passing the scepter to the Messiah. Now, the least of the flock drawing out other nations, and we're expecting World War III to come to pass very soon. So technically, we would then expect Bibi to be the last prime minister of the land of the Small Hats. And he being a king, and all kings on this planet Earth will then be handing over their scepters to Yahushua anyway, because he's King of Kings, Lord of Lords. So technically what he's saying, from what we're looking at, timeline, what I believe, if Bibi is that last, prime minister, takes us to World War III, least of the flock drawing them out, then, that prophecy is actually true. However, they believe they are the people, and obviously they've got their own twist on it, which is not true. It says today, the land of the Small Hats is in kind of apocalyptic mood. Bibi is prime minister, and the scepter is in his hand. Will Netanyahu, the nation, and the world soon welcome the Messiah? We believe, though, that that there is a Messiah coming, but not in the way that the Small Hats believe. We believe it according to the scriptures, according to the Bible, and we call on the names Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, the Son of the Most High, Yahushai being the Messiah. And we do believe, he'll be here very soon. Here we are, talking our way through the developments of World War III. So how close do you want it to be? It says that rabbis believed at the time that Netanyahu would be the Small Hats' last prime minister, and after him would come the reign of the promised Messiah. But then his first government fell in 1999. The next year, the second Intifada broke out, and in 2005, the Small Hats evacuated the Small Hat settlements in Gush Katif and Gaza Strip, and handed the coastal enclave over to the Palestinians. A year later, Hamas seized control of Gaza. In 2009, Bibi became Small Hat's prime minister for the second time and ruled until 2021. His voters in part saw in Bibi the Most High's anointed one. So that's how they're dropping it. The people that were voting Bibi back in for the third time, don't forget, and looking at him like he's the Most High's anointed one. Why? Because the rabbi said from the 90s, this will be the guy, before the Messiah comes. The Messiah and King David, a hero who has no competition among the people, not only in the country but also abroad. Christian rave about the Most High's messengers on earth, especially in the USA. Well, you've got false You've got Christians, you've got true Christians and false Christians. The true Christians, the true believers, which is what Christian means, is the Hebrew Israelites, those calling on Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahushai. And you have false Christians, false prophets, especially in the USA. It says from their perspective, BB was not replaceable, and that was true for a while. This, of course, angers his opponents, who cannot handle the fact that BB is being glorified like a messianic figure and the messenger of the Most High, despite his political shenanigans. In Israel too, many people saw BB as a savior. BB eventually slipped into opposition for about a year until he was elected for a third time in 22. And now there is a war under Netanyahu's government, and this can expand into a multi-front war or even a regional and global war. This is not a crazy idea, but a political perception of current reality. It says anyone who doesn't want to see and believe that probably lives in a different world. Now people are talking about the old prophecy of the Lubavitcher Rebbe again, and are seeing a possible situation in which everything will come to a head. Will BB really be the small hat's last prime minister before the Messiah comes? And so, like I say, the true Messiah is the Messiah of the Bible, Yahweh, Old Testament, New Testament. Messiah Yahushai, the son of Yahweh. And we do believe he's very close. So BB could be the last small hat prime minister, but not in the way that he wants to look at it. So you see, he's got all this going on. And all this cult of personality, if you like, that's what they've pretty much designed around him. He's in his third third term as prime minister, and this time he's actually gone to war. He's going to get back the land that they believe should be theirs, and they're cutting the grass. They don't care what's going on. And now people are starting to bang on the door, the UN. They're going, hang on a minute, you're part of the UN, you small hats, but we're not really sure about what you're doing. And so this is where we see the pride. Obviously it's talking of America, it's talking of Edom, the nation of Edom as a whole. But BB is a major player within the nation of Edom, because he's the leader of the least of the flock, the ones that will be responsible for starting the Third World War. And look what he's doing. So the pride of thy heart have deceived thee. You got to be proud if you're a small hat and you believe in these rabbis, and the rabbi comes and says, you're going to be the guy before the Messiah rocks up. You've now been voted in and out a third time, and now you've got a cabinet together who's ready to back you, and they're cutting the grass. So there's the pride's on maximum overdrive, and I can't see it being reduced. It says the pride of thy heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks. Obviously he's talking about Edom as a whole, but you can see a great example there. Don't forget, like I say, that spirit that was on the Pharaoh's, the hard spirit on Pharaoh, to harden his heart. A spirit, that demon, that spirit is going to be out here wandering to and fro, looking for someone to jump on. And BB is the perfect person, because we believe that BB is taking us to the Third World War, least of the flock drawing them out. It says, though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, this is verse 4, and thou set thy nest among the stars, thence I will bring thee down, saith Yahweh. I'm going to jump straight to verse 7. And all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. So who were at peace with the small hats, with Babylon the Great? The UN, NATO, EU, the UN, these types of nations. And so when you're going now into the UN, and all of a sudden they're voting against you, they're saying, no, we're not really with you on this. Uganda, like dummies, are still standing there. They're probably a little bit slow. They're still standing there going, no, we'll vote with you. But everybody else got the memo. Everybody else, when they had that coffee before they went into the meeting, and people, they buck up outside, they have that coffee together, they have a chat. When they go into the meeting, you've got 3-4 people working together. Uganda never got the memo. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The UN is a confederacy. Like I say, it's not part of the beast system, but it can determine whether the beast system takes military action or not, and whether what you're doing is a war crime or whether it's not. So it's going to have a big say in events. And they have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. And so again, you've got America also on this situation. They're part of the nation of Edom, the major player. And at the minute, we're looking at the start of World War III. So we're looking at the least of the flock doing their thing. Obviously, America, they're on the sidelines, like a cheerleader. On one hand, they're saying, "Oh no, we don't really want them to do it." But on the other hand, we know they're backing them. They're doing things to help propel the situation. And so obviously, again, this is all back to that confederacy of nations, UN, EU, NATO. Don't forget, eventually, NATO will. The EU. Revelation. I think it's chapter 11. I might be wrong. Or 10, the EU eventually shoot their ICBMs upon America. They're part of the beast system. So they're part of a confederacy. And it says they have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau. And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed. Because the Temanites are the Germans. The Germans are the ones with the technology. A lot of German scientists after the Second World War went from Germany to America. And that's how they advanced in the technology, especially with, warfare technology. Technology, built towards warfare. And that's how they've had these advancements. But it says it, O Teman shall be dismayed, to the end of every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter, because they're not going to, these Temanites have designed all this stuff, this technology. America's seen as the hammer of the earth, all this military equipment. Yet it's not going to be enough. They're going to be confounded when those ICBMs start raining in, and then that's when they'll find out. But like I say, this is based on the vote that took place today. This is Larry Johnson, like I say. This is a half an hour video, and they kind of break it down, and they go on to speak about what's been happening in Ukraine. You're not going to get this type of information in the mainstream media. They're not going to give it to you up front. You have to sort of dig around, find out alternate media sources, as they like to call them, YouTube, so on and so forth. And so, watching this particular half an hour, it'll catch you up to speed with what's happening. Even China, they're talking about, on this particular video, they were talking about the drills that Russia have been doing, the nuclear drills, about a month ago. And they were saying that, these drills aren't a surprise because it takes 18 months to plan a nuclear drill. So the drills that were done last month by Russia would have been planned 18 months ago. But what they're saying is, the surprise is the fact that they're announcing it. And they're announcing it because they know, obviously, they're in that time. So, you've even got Russia doing their nuclear military drills. And then the reaction of China. They're saying that, they then would expect China to, say, well, we're against that. We don't really want Russia to be doing those military drills, but they haven't. They've actually gone on the offensive, and posturing towards Taiwan. So this is a problem for America, from the Edomites all around, and these the least of the flock, these small hats, and that spirit on Bibi is directing us to this third world war very fast. Obviously, all wars are bankers wars, so the plan is to get us there. We're in that time, that great reset, a financial digital reset into a digital currency, collapse of the old system into the new one, and third world war, so on and so forth. Bibi believing that once he does this, completes this war, the Messiah's coming back. America got their fingers in whatever pies, for trying to make their money, trying to do this, that. You got Russia, the BRICS. We're in that time, so Lord willing, it won't be very long. So I'll leave the link for this in the description box. I hope that's edifying. I'm going to leave it right there. Until next time, I'm going to say all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakat Kwadash. And until next time, Shalom.